Welcome to the Playbook Review. I'm Johnny Midey. In today's episode, I will be reviewing Bill Walsh's West Coast offensive playbook from his time with the 49ers. The West Coast offense was one of the biggest things that happened to the NFL and completely revolutionized the game. The offense was invented by Bill Walsh in Cincinnati, but was popularized with his time with the 49ers. Here, the offense would completely change the game. This offense completely changed how other offenses were ran. The team was led by legendary quarterback Joe Montana and the greatest receiver of all time in Jerry Rice, making one of the harder offenses to stop with the combination of one of the greatest quarterbacks, receivers, and coaches of all time, along with a great supporting cast. The West Coast offense is predicated on using the passing game as an extension to the run game, and the idea was to use the pass game to widen out the defense and setting it up for the run game and the deep passing attack, with the footwork and the reads being told from Bill Walsh to the quarterback in a precise manner. The offense was very calculated with the footwork and the reads, as Walsh told his quarterbacks exactly what to do, and all they had to do was follow it precisely to get the exact results Walsh wanted. If the quarterback followed the directions, they would be working at surgical precision, attacking the defense down the field on the way to a touchdown. The West Coast offense has influenced almost every team and every coach in the NFL. Although very few teams run a true West Coast offense, almost every offense in the NFL has West Coast influences or is a close variation of the West Coast offense. Walsh had other contributions to the game of football, like scripting out the first 25 plays and having the receiver and quarterback communicate to each other mid-play. Now that we talked about a brief history of this offense and some of the philosophies behind it, let's take a couple of looks at some play calls Bill Walsh used. He calls plays like most other teams in the league do, with formation, the possible motion, the blocking, the play or the pass pattern, and the snap count. We'll start off with a run. A good example is green right 98 toss. Green is the formation, which is a standard two-back I formation set. Right is telling us to play strength. This tells us which direction we want the Y to line up in. 98 is telling us who's getting the ball and what hole they are trying to hit. Bill Walsh used the same numbering system most teams do, with even numbers being runs to the right and odd numbers being runs to the left. And the smaller the number, the closer the hole is to the center, with numbers ranging from 0 to 9, depending on the direction and the hole trying to be hit. The 9 is saying that the H will be getting the ball, while the 8 is trying to say that we will be trying to get the ball out to the alley. The blocking on 98 toss is the following. The F will be blocking the force, and the Y will be blocking the man over. And against this front, the tackle will take his man play side, while the guard will pull and meet the mic in whatever hole he wants to be in. The center will take the head up nose, and the backside guard will try to pull and cut off the rim. The backside tackle is trying to sift and cut off anything backside that might be a threat to the play. The H will take a false step and will be reading the block of the Y to determine what hole he is trying to hit, but the run is trying to get out to the alley. Now that we took a look at a run play, let's take a quick look at a pass play. The play that we will be looking at is red right slot 184 double slant. Red means that the running backs will be aligned in a split back alignment, and right means that the Y, who sets the strength, is going to be to the right. Slot is telling the Z that he is going to line up on the same side as the X, turning one of them into the slot receiver. 184 is a 6-man scat protection, which is going weak. The Z receiver is running a slant, while the X receiver is running a flat. The H is on a check wide, meaning he will check the linebackers to see if he is blitzing and then try to get out wide. He's going opposite of his alignment, meaning he will be going to the right on his check wide. He is told to be alert for any type of late throw from the quarterback. The Y is on a flat, and when he reaches the sideline, he will turn it up the field, almost like a wheel route. The F is on a quick hook. The quarterback is on a basic 3-step drop, and his read is 1 to the Z on the slant, X on the flat, and then he will check it down to the backs as his last option. He is looking to find the window for the Z on the slant, and if he can't find it, he will work his way through the progression. The quarterback must have an open throwing lane for the Z. Now that we talked about how plays were called in the West Coast offense and looked at some examples of some West Coast plays, let's now get into the review section of this playbook. Our first category is simplicity. If you want a more in-depth look at what each category will cover, I recommend watching the Dolphins video, as I go into a lot more detail there. Simplicity is talking about how simple and easy it is to learn the offense for the team that is running. It's important that your own players are able to understand the playbook, because if they can't understand it, they won't be able to execute it on game day. This playbook is decent at being simple to understand, although there were some things that were a little bit harder to understand in this playbook. They do a great job of telling everyone what their calls are and making it easy to understand what the calls are in the general information section of the playbook. If you are unsure or forget what the calls mean, they generally do a good job of telling you what you need to do, but I sometimes needed to resort back to the general information section just because there were so many calls in this offense. So it can be a little bit hard to remember all the calls. One of the things that I liked about this playbook is they make it very clear what the read and the footwork for the quarterback are. They do a great job of telling you what the read is and being direct with it, along with the footwork. While some teams like to have in a really in-depth section of what the read is, I think it's just good to have a nice, simple section for your quarterback so you can quickly look at it and execute it on game day or in practice. They don't give any unnecessary information that you're not going to need to use, but they still give you enough information that you're able to look at it and understand that's exactly what needs to happen. Overall, I like the general information section as it was very in-depth, but I feel like I had to resort to it a few too many times. But other than that, it was fairly simple to understand, and I liked how easy easy it was for the quarterbacks to understand their footwork and their reads. And for this reason, I give them a 2.5 out of 3 when it comes to simplicity. The next category on our list is complexity. This is mostly talking about from a defensive perspective as to how complex the offense is and how hard is it to stop and figure out what is going on. This playbook does a good job of being complex, as it had a lot of different plays from a lot of different formations, but they also had plays that would build off of each other in the passing game and in the running game, the use of things like play action and double moves. Teams had a hard time stopping and figuring out this precise passing attack that would surgically pick apart any defense that you threw at it. They had a variety of different passes at a variety of depths, and they also had the ability to move the pocket around and get the quarterback involved in the ground game, which they would end up using a lot later on when they moved on from Joe Montana and started using Steve Young. Although some of these concepts may be universal now, they either popularized or first started using a good amount of these concepts, especially in the short passing attack, as they used it as an extension of the running game. So when it comes to the complexity, I'm going to be giving them a 3 out of 3 when it comes to this set. Our next category is uniqueness, and this is just talking about how unique the playbook is to a team or a coach. The West Coast offense is known for its short, high percentage passes that will result in getting your players a good opportunity to have yards after the catch. And when people think of the West Coast offense, or the 49ers, or Bill Walsh and Joe Montana, they all think of the other things as well. And you cannot tell the story of the 1980 49ers without the West Coast offense. The offense is even named after the region that they played in, as they were playing on the West Coast, even though the offense was invented in Cincinnati. But because it was popularized in San Francisco, where the 49ers played, that's where it got its nickname, the West Coast offense. And for that simple, obvious reason for the offense's name, I'm giving this playbook a 2 out of 2 when it comes to uniqueness, as this playbook is obviously unique to the city, the team, and the coach who popularized it. The next category is visuals, and this is all about how this playbook looks. The playbook has above average visuals for its time, as they do a good job of keeping it neat, as a lot of other playbooks from this era tend to be a little bit more messy. The diagrams are nice and neat, and they have good clean reads that aren't hard to figure out like in some other playbooks from its era, and everything is printed. Some of the playbooks in this era are clearly hand-drawn and copied and pasted to every player, which can work in certain situations like you want to quickly install a play. But for the entire playbook, it can get really messy. They also have a nice, simple chart that's easy to understand, and they have a base play on the same page as the chart, which I really like, as you can quickly see what the play is intended to do without having to flip through pages. However, the playbook isn't anything special for its era, but it is better than most other playbooks. Like most playbooks from this era, it didn't have color, which is fine, but it is something that you really pick up on, especially if you look at a lot of today's playbooks where they have a lot of color, usually to signify something, like a receiver being hot. They also do a good job of showing the blocking assignments. Since this playbook had above average visuals, it gets an above average grade, so it is getting a 7.5 out of 1 when it comes to visuals. Our final category of the day is all about performance. Since this playbook is less about a specific year and more about an era for a team, we're going to be grading it overall for that era. This playbook was one of the best performing playbooks the NFL has seen, as over the course of Bill Walsh's tenure with the 49ers, they ended up winning 3 Super Bowls in just 7 years. He also had an amazing record of 92, 59-1, and a playoff record of 10-4. I don't think you need to say much more about this playbook, as it clearly gets a 1 out of 1 when it comes to performance. When we add up the score, this playbook scores an amazing 9.25 out of 10. If this playbook was an NFL team, they would have won roughly 14.8 wins. You can round that up to 15. In Bill Walsh's best season with the 49ers, the team went 15-1, and they also won a Super Bowl. I believe this once again proves that my rating system is fairly accurate with how these teams perform, as I have yet to get a playbook that either over or underperformed by a wide margin, although those playbooks do exist. This has been episode 4 of the Playbook Review Show, and I hope you enjoyed it. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content, and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. And also remember to hit the bell to be notified when more videos like this come out. We just hit 50 subscribers, so next week I will be doing a 50 subscriber special. So I will be having one of you guys pick what playbook team or coach you want me to cover, and I will cover whichever one is the highest like out of the ones that I have available. Of course, you can reach out to my Twitter at Johnny Midey, and if you want to share a playbook with me, reach out to my Twitter. I hope you had a good day and enjoy this episode, and I am saying goodbye.